Okay. What I want to show you now is some things that you as a coach or parent can look at the pitcher and tell them what they're doing wrong. If they can't feel it or know how to fix it, that you'll be able to do it as an observer. Now one of the biggest problems is throwing high or throwing too low, and there's several reasons for that. Of course, one of the reasons is the wrist snap, because we've talked about you have to hit your hip and release the ball. So if they're not releasing at their hip, it's going to be high or low or to the left or to the right. But how to fix that, if it's going high, if you have turned and thrown the ball, do your motion and don't actually throw it, what happens is if the ball goes high, you have released it in front of you instead of at your hip. So they're releasing it here, so you need to remind them to release at their hip. You can get that bat like I showed you earlier and put it here so they'll remember where to release the ball. Another reason for throwing the ball high is that they take a really big step and they end up pulling the ball, and that causes them to have to release it in front of them instead of at their hip. Okay? Another thing that will happen, like we talked about a little bit before, is that the ball can go to the right side of the catcher from the pitcher's perspective. The reason for that a lot of times is when they have opened their door and they slam it a little too soon, their arm gets beside them, so it throws their arm out to the side. So what you have to make sure they do is open all the way, then have that hand come in the door first, and then slam the door. Another thing that can go with that is they end up not opening their door enough. When they come through, they open this way, and they've never opened their door, so their hips are still in the way, like this. So you want to make sure that the catcher can't see any dots when they make the full motion. Okay, your hand's out, Jen. And if that hand is to your catcher, you should be in an open door position. Okay, thank you, Jenna. Another common mistake is your low balls, throwing the low balls. Now what has happened here, two major things. You've either done your full motion and let the ball go behind you, so you're here, and you let it go here. The pitcher will let it go here instead of at the hip. So if you let it go here, it's going to be in the ground. Okay, so that, again, you can put the bat there, let them come through and hit that hand on the bat so they can remember where to release the ball, or remind them to brush their hip and release it. And this is where they're going to brush. Right here on this part of the elbow is where they're actually going to brush. Not the wrist, but the elbow part right here. Okay, another thing that can cause it to go into the ground is they're leaning on their front foot and they've got a short step. Okay, so they're lean. That it will cause a low ball to go into the ground. Even though they release at their hip, if they're on their front foot, their weight is not on their back foot, that ball will go in the ground. Okay, to the left of the catcher, from the perspective of the pitcher, a lot of times what will happen is they haven't opened their door all the way and they end up pulling across their body. So if you do a full motion, they don't open all the way and then they pull across their body. That'll cause it to go to the left side of the catcher from the pitcher's perspective. Okay.